Hi there, I hope all is well. Welcome to Pearl, a world where modern day princesses strive for class, sass, and strass. I'm your host, Victoria, and today's episode is on the 3 necessary things to be successful in life. But more specifically, I'm also going to be talking about like business and monetary success. Although I really do think this could apply to anybody's life in general, and I highly recommend taking these 3 principles and honestly, like digesting it. It's very hard to do in practice, like right off the bat. It's going to take some time, honestly, to execute these well in life. But at least digesting it and then observing other people and being able to observe successful versus unsuccessful people and see that they tend to have 2, if not 3 of these traits. And then also you can start maybe implementing in your life and seeing how it can improve your life. So, number 1 is self-awareness. Holy moly, how this is lacking. And this is across the board. I travel all over basically. Well, not really all over. I travel in the US and in Europe. And so I've gone to many countries. Also, sorry for the noise. Unfortunately, I'm still on vacation, and so there's a lot of busy bees around. But anyway, self-awareness. So I kind of across the board, I'm sure this is kind of something with most people. The lack of self-awareness, in my opinion, is just astonishing. Like, people don't recognize anything about themselves. I don't know if they're like in denial or they're just blind to it, but developing this really great muscle of self-awareness, I think is like, that will already take care of 60% of what I'm about to say in this episode. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is telling you, are you healthy? Are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? Do you treat people well? What are your habits? How do you think? How are you emotionally? How are you like physically in some way? Mentally? What are your values? Most people don't even deep dive. They don't even realize that, for example, that maybe they're addicted to food. Maybe they just don't see that. Again, I'm going to assume that it's because they're ignorant rather than in denial and denying some truth about themselves. Maybe it's that they don't realize that they're an avid spender and that they can't get their finances in check because they just are not self-aware about their spending and their financial habits. Or it could be how they treat their friends. Like, they're not cognizant of the fact that they, I don't know, gossip a lot or something like that. Like, it's actually very hard because these are very like subliminal, subconscious things, but being able to bring those subconscious elements to the conscience. Yeah. I don't know why I'm so bad with words sometimes. Oh my gosh. It's like, it makes sense in my head, but I don't know. I feel like that's probably from honestly being raised by 2 immigrants. Like the English that I feel like I learned secondhand English, if that makes sense. So this happens a lot, but whatever. Please forgive me. But yeah, so the self-awareness or the lack thereof is just astounding. Oh yeah, so what I was saying is bring if you can, the subconscious to the conscious. Try and be a little bit more aware of what you do, your habits. Maybe writing out literally what you do might help you, and just like recognizing, for example, like, oh, I went to eat at the bakery. Oh, I also grabbed and then you do all your other things throughout the day. Oh, and then I went to grab a croissant from this place. And then I also got a salad here. And then I also went out for dinner. And then that can share and show you that, oh, okay, you spend a lot of money eating out and also you're eating a lot. And maybe that self-awareness will start to inspire you to maybe pull back on your eating or your spending or whatever. So a lot of women are not self-aware about men. This is something that I really wish I could help a lot of women with, is that their choices on picking men are not the best, and I have a feeling it's because they're not self-aware. I have a girlfriend, I love her to death, she's amazing, but the self-awareness is 0 when it comes to her choices with men. She doesn't realize that men maybe don't treat her all that well, or that she's kind of being used in some way, which I know it's very awful for me to say, but I'm just being honest. Like, women, I think a superpower they can have is just to be self-aware. Okay. And then number 2, oh my gosh, we've completely lost this in the United States. It's unbearable, honestly, when I see it in action. There is a lack of common sense. You need common sense. And my prediction is that the constant online presence and the constant commercialization of everything has skewed people's ability to think critically, and therefore they lose their sense of common sense. So every time I go to Europe, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm back, because here people just make sense. They're normal. Everything about them is just normal. And then I go back to the US and it's just, everything's like inflated and just like so commercialized, and you just see people buying into all the junk that people are selling, like nobody's thinking for themselves, nobody's thinking critically. It's almost like a lifestyle that's just not normal and chill. But people, because they're not self-aware of that and they don't see it, they just fight for it, and they keep pushing and they keep spreading their non-common sense, I guess, or their lack of common sense. A lot of this, for example, like I could advise somebody to live below their means, but then somebody would come along, somebody without common sense would say, well, no, it's justified because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, this is basic financial advice, like personal advice that like every financial advisor would give you. That's what's needed to, maybe build wealth or start your wealth journey or whatever. And it's so, or common sense about like eating. Like, oh, for example, like I see this craze about protein, right? Oh my gosh, protein, you need protein. And people are eating powder. And I'm like, but they swear by it. Like it's 30 grams of powder, 30 grams of protein in this one little scoop. And it's like, sure, I guess like maybe for a breakfast, like that's fine. But like on average, I'm like, do you not realize that like you could be spending way more money on eggs and like actual meat or like other animal products? And it just baffles me that people like swear by things. Again, at least in the US, maybe also hyper in California, but it's just insane, the lack of common sense. And honestly, especially where I live, like the people are just so weird. Like, I don't know, like common sense would tell you honestly that you don't need Botox and plastic surgery and to get all this work done on yourself. Common sense would tell you eat a good Mediterranean diet or just some sort of like normal healthy diet. Don't eat too much and be active at least 30 minutes a day. Common sense. Oh no, but this type of procedure or product or something is so much better. So let me just pay thousands of dollars. And I'm like, okay. So common sense is lacking. People are swearing by things that I'm like, you just bought into the Kool-Aid. And I'm sure even I somehow do this. Like I'm sure some vernacular that I use has been, digested from the internet, like me saying like toxic or something like that. I own it, but at least I'm aware of it and I have common sense not to be, weird about it. So self-awareness, gown, common sense, gown. We need to develop those two. These are going to be your two biggest muscles in being successful in life. Because again, common sense would tell you don't put all your life savings, if you don't have to, into your business. Common sense would maybe say, maybe work a little more, maybe have a bigger buffer, a bigger pot that you can lean on, and then maybe make the big risk or whatever it is. Like there's so many different examples I could think of, but definitely build your common sense. And what will help with this is traveling, honestly. Meeting other people, meeting other cultures, other lifestyles, other philosophies, values, just ways of life is going to really help you out with this, because I realized I was blind and I was glossed over in the brain, I guess. And although I've always had self-awareness, unfortunately, I was very easily influenced to skew my common sense. I mean, I've also always pretty much been somebody with a lot of common sense, but I'm just saying, once I got exposed to like the rest of the world kind of, or like another part of the world, that really helped me see and step back, at least from the American culture, how much common sense has been lost. And, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. This was crazy that this happened, and I will never forget this experience I had at UC Berkeley. Oh my gosh, like people are just sheep now. Like there's no common sense. People don't think for themselves. It's crazy. So I was at UC Berkeley, the number one public school in the world, public university in the world. These are the brightest kids ever. These are the smartest, like nerdiest, I love it, but like nerdiest kids ever. They're going to be the next Steve Jobs and like CEOs of Google. No joke. Like I'm not kidding. They're pumping out AI. We're the number one like entrepreneurial school. It's crazy. So there was a mixed bathroom, like you need a co-ed bathroom, I guess. I don't know how you say that, and I am in line. And because I'm not a sheep and I've never really been a sheep, I'm in line and I see it's a very long line. And I'm like, wait, but there's so many stalls in this bathroom. Like, so men and women are in line. So this is not a gendered thing. I don't want people to be like, oh yeah, this is women are dumb. No, this was men and women. And I remember thinking, I'm like, it's not going very fast. There are a lot of stalls and it's a long line. So I keep peeking out and I'm like, is nobody going to check the feet underneath the stalls to see if they're like occupied? No, people are just going to wait in line and follow like the stalls that quote unquote look occupied without testing any of the other stalls if they're open or not. So I kept peeking out. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what are we doing here? And I was like, who cares if you look stupid trying to like open the door of the bathroom to see if somebody's in there or not? Because actually the door's closed all the way to the bottom. Like you actually don't see the feet or the shoes. But also you see the little like green or red knob. So I was like, oh my gosh. Anywho, so I'm like, I keep peeking out and I'm like, what the heck? Is nobody going to look? Is nobody going to look? So I get out the line. I go all the way to the front and I start pushing doors open and like 3 or 4 were open. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. No common sense. Literally no common sense to just go and test the bathroom. We see it's a long line, that there's a lot of people waiting and it's going very slow when there are a lot of stalls. And yet the brightest minds in freaking California couldn't even think to go and open the doors. And that was honestly that was one of the biggest turning points, at least in my life. I'm not even kidding, this experience. Like, Berkeley was fine and like my experiences were fine. That specific experience will live with me for the rest of my life because it proved to me, at least, that I am not less than other people, really. Like these are the brightest minds. I can't compete with them. Like some of these kids are probably like coding in their sleep, like coding on their computer backwards and inside out and upside down and whatever. I can't do any of that. Like, or I could try and figure it out because I did take a pretty good batch of code. Okay, whatever. But these are the brightest kids and they couldn't even think to open the bathroom. And I was like, wow, it was because I had self-awareness. I was aware of the situation. I was like, okay, pause. There's a long line. People aren't moving, like what's going on? And then I had the common sense to go and check it out. So I was like, wow. And so every time I went to UC Berkeley, there was a little twinge of like insecurity. Never again after that experience. I said, these kids aren't better than me in any way. Like, honestly, like, okay, they can code their heart out. But like one, I already noticed actually, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to like start grilling these kids. But basically, again, it was a huge defining moment for me to believe that nobody's better than me and that most people lack self-awareness, common sense. And then the third thing, which Berkeley kids were pretty good at, but honestly, again, the crux of it is self-awareness and common sense. The third thing is discipline and self-control. If you cannot master this, you are going nowhere in life. You will not succeed at all if you cannot be disciplined. Now, this might be hard because some people have the personality for it. Like, I've always been disciplined. However, I wasn't disciplined for food and eating and fitness. That all had to come from me. So, don't also think that just because you have the personality for it, like you're fully like good and checked out. Because I was disciplined like crazy for school. I was disciplined like crazy for money, saving avidly. You can check out my episode on like how I built my 100K net worth and how crazy I was as a kid. I was literally like 5 or 6 starting my financial journey, but food wasn't there. But, so discipline and self-control. So again, don't think that it's just because, I had the personality or somebody had the personality and so I don't have the personality, I can't do that. No, this is another muscle that you can practice. And honestly, probably the fact that you're listening to this episode is evidence enough to me that it will happen and you will develop that skill. It's a skill. And if you don't know it and if you're not good at it, that's okay. We are going to, work on it and get better at it. So I can maybe, I'm like having hiccups right now. I can maybe do a whole episode on how to develop that discipline muscle and skill. But basically, having no self-control means you're going to be a slave to whatever you're doing, okay? And all of this is to say, all 3 of these compounded mean you can be successful in any area of your life. Let's take fitness again. Self-awareness. Are you self-aware of what you're eating, how much you're eating, how much you're working out? Do you even recognize it? Are you in denial? Maybe drinking is a bit tricky for you. Like maybe you're in denial. Like I've heard of this thing of like when you're big, you sometimes don't even realize how big you are because your brain is kind of like body dysmorphing you in like the opposite way. Like it's like, oh, I'm not too bad. And then like you look back after you lose the weight and you're like, oh my gosh, that was really bad. So are you objectively self-aware of your situation and your habits? Because some people, for example, like smoking, they're in denial that it's a problem. They're in denial that their eating is a problem. People are in denial that their drinking is a problem. So be self-aware and own it, okay? Number 2 is common sense. Okay, let's say you drink a lot of beer or something, I don't know. And so that's the thing that we need to kind of turn around. Okay, well, common sense will now tell you I need to maybe cut down and drink less or have a substitute for a bit and slowly ease out of it. Common sense will tell you, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be eating sugar every day. Common sense will tell you maybe I shouldn't be eating like 2,000 calories of sugar a day or eating all this processed food or whatever. Again, denial will come into the picture if you really lack that self-awareness muscle and that common sense muscle. But that's why I'm bringing this to your attention. I'm like, oh, this is now like inspiring you, hopefully, to do a deeper inner look in yourself to see what's really going on under the hood. And then discipline would tell you, okay, I need to rein it in. Hopefully you can find some sort of metric or way to drink less, eat better. You're going to find strategies on how maybe you can shop more affordably, but, through a healthier lens and all the things. But self-awareness, common sense, discipline/self-control is going to win you every single time. So that was a food health one. Let's talk about, finances. Oh my gosh, my life is awful. I can't seem to make any money, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Self-awareness, or like I'm a loser, like I'm going nowhere in life, whatever. Okay. Self-awareness, and I'm taking a very extreme example. I don't know if this would be anybody, but like this was kind of like me in a way. Self-awareness would have you say, oh, dang, okay, I'm literally not doing much with my life and I have maybe a mental health problem that I need to now start to fix and work on. I live in a basement. I am video gaming all day or watching stuff I shouldn't be watching and kind of withering my life away. I'm on social media for way too long. Again, self-awareness, you're bringing to light the hard things, okay? Common sense would now tell you to correct these things. Common sense would tell you maybe watching those things that you're not supposed to be watching is maybe not good for you and you should put it down. Common sense would tell you maybe I need to maybe move out or start really locking in on saving or, start a side hustle or make money in multiple ways. Maybe I need to apply to 10 more jobs a day. I don't know, whatever it is. And then discipline and self-control would tell you need to actually execute and do those things. So again, I could do a plethora of examples for all different avenues of people's lives. But basically, you will see, especially if you're able to ever rub elbows with very successful people and have those be kind of close people and just be your new network, and you end up getting to that point of success and that psychology of being successful, they all tend to have these 3 components. And their journey honestly started with the self-awareness, starting it out. So I hope this helped. I know that this was maybe a bit intense, but I just want to help people out there live their best lives, and do what they got to do to make their lives better. And especially in the US, again, I really have a conviction to help Americans, because I can just see there's something that plagued us mentally that wasn't here 70, 80, 90 years ago. Something happened and I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know if it's like the boom of the internet. I don't know if it's social media, but we're a bit zombie-like. And I'm not saying that to insult Americans, but it's like I have conviction to try and help and steer it in a better direction if I can. So that was this episode and what I'm attempting to do. I hope it helped you in some way. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know down below in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, it really, 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 really means a lot, genuinely. It just, even just one listen and I'm like, my day is made. So thank you so much. But I hope you have a blessed day. I'm praying for you. Okay, the ending got really weird. But I was just saying, I hope you have a blessed day. I'm praying for you. God bless. Bye.